The world is a wonderful place, full of vast landscapes from the highest of elevations to the deepest of seas. This planet is full of blossoming life and a variety of fascinating organisms and the environment they interact with. The world's land masses are made up of 7 key terrestrial biomes: the tropical rainforest, temperate forest, deserts, grassland, savanna, tundra, and the taiga, which display a range of biodiversity and biotic and abiotic features. Canada, with almost 10 million square kilometers, consists of 4 biomes: the temperate forest, which is along the west coast, the grasslands near the prairies, tundra, which is up near the Arctic Circle, and the taiga, also known as the Boreal forest. The taiga is the largest of the biomes, covering 11% of the world and spans across coast to coast with 75% of Canada's forests and woodlands. The 2 biomes we are discovering today are the temperate and boreal forest, with many of these images and organisms from my backyard in Fall River, Nova Scotia. Both of these biomes are heavily present in Canada, flourishing with life, as you can hear in this lovely audio song. There are a plethora of organisms within these ecosystems that interact with one another to support the world as we know it. From small interactions of bees moving pollen from flower to flower to the inevitable end by perhaps a spider, there are also a variety of other organisms like deer, chipmunks and squirrels, caterpillars, worms, and even the pesky raccoon, as well as so many other organisms that are vital for the overall ecosystems. Along with the animals present, trees and other plants are vital for these interactions, as well as the ability to undergo photosynthesis and allow oxygen to be present in the air for all of our survival. Photosynthesis occurs by converting light energy as well as carbon dioxide into sugar and oxygen. The ability for photosynthesis to occur in large quantities in boreal and temperate forests is essential for the breakdown of carbon dioxide as well as the release of oxygen into the atmosphere. All of these organisms live in areas that suit their needs and optimize their survival. This optima is called a niche, and where the organisms are currently living is likely their realized niche, a location where organisms can live with population, predators, as well as a means for food and energy. Having the optimal nutrients in abundance for an ecosystem to thrive is important for the overall health of the organisms and the ecosystem as a whole. Within a healthy ecosystem, the cycle of nutrients is continuous, involving plants, animals, fungi, and a plethora of bacteria within and above the soil. Taking a deeper dive into the ecosystem, you can see that the system takes place with nutrients in the soil being taken up through the roots and stored into beautiful flowers and photosynthetic leaves. These appendages can turn into fruit, and the energy and nutrients can be passed over to other organisms, or they could fall to the ground and decompose. This breakdown process would supply nutrients to other organisms and bring excess nutrients back to the soil. In some areas, forest ecosystems burn from natural causes, which brings nutrients back to the soil, releasing the valuable nutrients that are stored and trapped in the forest litter. With larger fires, this can open up the canopy to light, which stimulates new growth. The rebuilding after a fire is called secondary succession, and this happens when a community is impacted by a disturbance. Immediately following a forest fire, there are 2 general groups of plants: the survivors and the dispersers. In the boreal forest, the survivors, such as aspens, would resprout from below ground, whereas some conifers, like the jack pine and the black spruce, have fire-resistant cones that will help rebuild the community. Dispersers spread seeds widely and arrive quickly from other patches. For example, dispersers would be organisms like fireweed, other grasses, and perennial-type organisms. Competition is evident in the first stages of succession. The early arrivers are able to have a leg up in growth, as they generally start to grow fast and suppress seedlings from other species trying to grow up in these areas. This happens for trees and other plants that need a lot of sunlight to grow and synthesize. After the initial bloom of trees, later arrivals generally are more shade tolerant and will grow from there. As the decades progress, the early comers like aspens die off and leave new exposed canopy for other trees like the birch to rapidly grow and take the place of the aspen trees. When the birch eventually die, the seedlings that tolerate shade like firs and cedars replace them and then eventually replace themselves. As you can see, there are distinct patterns and dynamics driven by the forest fires pertaining to the plants present in the area. But where do animals go during this time, and how do they repopulate the area? This leads us to the idea of metapopulations and the overall interconnectedness across many patches of suitable habitat. Just like the dispersal of plant seeds, organisms are able to repopulate areas if there is already a population present in a nearby habitat. It is natural for local extinctions followed by recolonization from surrounding patches, making widespread conservation efforts vital for the repopulation of areas of local extinctions from natural disasters and the overall health of each community. When assessing and determining conservation efforts, it is important to think about how the indigenous perceives the land, as they have an infamous knowledge regarding the natural world. Two-eyed seeing is a way of giving a more holistic perspective by applying the indigenous knowledge as well as the ideas of Western science to form a way of understanding the natural world. Finding a balance and acknowledging the differences in perspective can help the Western society to take a step back from science and think about how the overall world works and interacts with each other. This helps place clarity and is important to take into consideration when making wildlife reserves and conservation areas. Overall, with this changing world and climate ecosystems, it is more important than ever to take care of the land that we are given and make sure we give back to the land as much as we can. There is no one way to conserve and protect ecosystems since there is a variety of organisms that vary from region to region and biome to biome. All we can do is educate ourselves about society's impacts and make efforts to reduce our individual impacts. Thank you so much for watching. I would like to acknowledge that this video is constructed in Mi'kmaq, the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. As well, I would like to give thanks to the ecology professors and TAs that have guided this class through learning and the newfound knowledge that inspired this video.